Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm reviewing a film I found in Southwest Virginia at a thrift store, antique store called The Worst Person in the World. I watched it on a DVD. Wasn't expecting a whole lot out of it because I hadn't heard a lot about it, but some of you told me, Cody, you need to see this. And I found that I had a pretty rich character study on my hands. A film I thought a lot about. I wasn't even intending on making a video about it, but the more I've thought about it, the more I really liked it and what it did and how straightforward and brutally honest it could be, and how compassionate it was toward its characters, and it was well-rounded, and I think it's going to be a little bit more timeless than some of these character studies we're getting in the 2000s. So Renee Rehnsev won the Best Actress at Cannes for this performance as a young woman who's trying to battle through a series of difficult but common life decisions that people face at any time in life, but especially very likely around her, their early 30s. This felt like something that a series of conflicts that I've gone through, or someone I know has gone through, or a lot of young adults have dealt with. She basically has multiple relationships. So in one relationship, she's dating this comic book artist who's pretty successful, who may or may not be really misogynistic. It's kind of up in the air for debate, which is really good writing. And then this barista who brews coffee, and they're very different people, but they're both nice guys. They both mean well, and they're both kind of terrific boyfriends in their own right. It's just her figuring out, are they right for her? And some of the conversations that these characters get into and trying to figure out their compatibility and where they want to go in life, like, do I want kids now, later? Are you too old? Are you too young? Like, these are all things that real people really deal with on a regular basis. And often in a film like this, I will see the director, the camera, whatever, really pick a side and really be like, that character was probably more right than that character. But in this film, I just felt like everyone was respected. Everyone's viewpoint was heard in terms of how the story was told. And I didn't really feel like anyone was the worst person in the world. In fact, I could see why someone would dislike the main character here. I wanted to make the video in part because of that. On the surface, it might seem like, oh, well, here's this young woman who doesn't care about how her decisions impact others, and she's just floating around, and she doesn't have any anchor on anything. Like, she's just learning, in reality. She's just like anybody else. She's just like you and me. She's just trying to figure out what to do with life, because life is complicated, and it's difficult to work through the melancholy and the monotony. And I found myself really rooting for her, even when I didn't always agree with what she was doing, because there's some things she does in here that I think are real mistakes, but I never thought of her as a bad person. And that's what's so interesting about this title, The Worst Person in the World, is that you can see how someone might have that perspective, and maybe you do as a film watcher. I think it's entirely possible to watch this film and be like, I hate her, I dislike her. And I think it's entirely possible to look at this character and want to aspire to be like her, to be that beating your own drum kind of thing. But I see her as a just fine person who is really just trying to figure out life. The main reason I really liked this movie, though, was each performance I felt like was just on point. The characters, each character was respectful of each other character in their own way, and the source material, and there are a few times that the film kind of plays around with the medium a little bit. It's not the most revelatory thing in the world. I mean, there's it plays on the comic book art. There's a drug use scene. That's okay. I mean, it's not like any of those scenes are that monumental or anything, or important in the history of film, but they keep the tone kind of light sometimes, which I think is important, because heavier topics do come up here, especially topics related to what happens as you age and as things can go wrong in our lives. And the few times it does kind of break from that A, B, C, D, E, F, G format, I think they kind of work for what they are. I'd be curious to see this in Blu-ray now that I've seen it on DVD, because there were some times that the resolution and so forth, I really wanted to see a better picture, but I did just buy this on a whim, as a DVD form. It does say on the back that it's a liberating portrait of self-discovery, and contemporary spin on the romantic comedy. I don't know if I quite looked at this all the way as a romantic comedy. I mean, there are definitely plenty of moments that are funny. It is a funny movie, and but there's something a little bit achingly sad underneath. The disconnect of the modern world is sort of all over the place. I just like I was really surprised by it. Like I wasn't expecting this movie that I picked up in a thrift store to be as good as it was. And another reason I wanted to make this video is I wanted to encourage people, like, when you're out and about in the world, if you can walk by an antique store or a thrift store or somewhere that has physical media, every now and then you'll pick up one of these Criterions just right off a shelf for a few bucks. You'll go home, you'll watch it, and sometimes it'll be really special. Now, you're going to strike out a lot looking for that piece of physical media that you want, but sometimes it really works out, and that's kind of what the movie's about in a way. You know, you go out there, you do things, you throw spaghetti at a wall, and you see what sticks. And yeah, people, like in this movie, people do get hurt. Like, emotions are hurt. Like, it's not always pretty, but it is achingly honest and refreshing in that sense. And I hope that if you watch this movie, you'll give it the fair chance. But you got to go in with an open mind about the main character, I think, anyway. I was curious what your reactions were if you've seen this movie. Like I said, I could see someone really not be having a negative reaction to the film or the main character, but I really enjoyed it. If you liked the video and want to give it a thumbs up button, that would be great. Or subscribe if you like hearing about Criterion movies, because I cover these, you know, as much as I can. See you next time, Cody in the Cinema.